someone's asking in the chat about a recording.
Yep, we will have an archived recording on our website. So I'll post that link
Perfect.
where that gets archived at the end. And if anyone has any questions, just let me know.
Perfect. Awesome. So yes, as Abby mentioned, if you do have questions, feel free to put them in the chat and I try to look at the chat as best I can. If I'd miss it, usually Abby gets my attention. Otherwise, yeah, stay muted. But feel free to keep your video on. It's super fun watching everybody paint, and we get to hold up what we've done before. If you've been here before, you know the drill. I love looking at the paintings. But if this is your first time, yeah, don't be shy. My materials that I have out right now. Oh, that's my toddler screaming. Hopefully you can't hear him. I've got my canvas, of course. I've laid out my paints. The paints that I'll be using are white, lots of white. So I've got lots more white than the rest of my colors here. Then I've got the primary colors, red, yellow, and blue, and black. You might have some green at your house or brown, but these are the colors that I will be using, and I'll be mixing any of those to get greens and browns and all those things. But certainly a lot of white, okay? I've also got a mug of water to rinse my brush. That was a hot tip from, I think, someone on one of these online paint nights. She said that she used a mug because I kept knocking my little plastic cup over. Just make sure you don't drink out of your paint water. And I've got a big brush, a nice flat brush here, and I'm probably going to grab a smaller one as we move on. I've got paper towels at the ready, and that's yeah, that's pretty much all of the stuff laid out. I've done this little sketch here that I will be following. So we've got this is from a photo that I found online. I thought it was a little too gray, so I added the cardinals and the little berries. Forget what tree that's called. Is it a white something? Anyway, if you know what that tree is, put it in the chat. I know we've got them in the Arboretum. Anyway, so yeah, this is our little painting with Old Main in the background. And we're going to, I think it is a hawthorn, like a white hawthorn with those awesome red berries. Thank you, Sandy. Alrighty. So hopefully I've yapped enough for everyone to kind of get organized. What we're going to do first is real simple. We're just going to cover the whole canvas in white paint. Okay, we're just going to cover this whole thing in white paint. And if you've painted with me before, you know that we want to get blendy, technical terms here, blendy with our background especially. I want the colors to go on really, really subtly, and having this wet white background will help us. And this comes right out of the Bob Ross School of Painting. I used to watch him on public access TV before the age of the internet. And yeah, I basically wanted to paint because I loved what he did. And he always started with this white, this wet white layer. Of course, he was using oil paints and I am using acrylic. Never really got the hang of oil paints myself, but I certainly loved his technique of putting down just a wet white layer, and then we can get blendy. So you can do this however you want. I'm kind of doing little crisscrossies here. I kind of like the really sketchy, loose texture of the sketch that I did. So I'm not worried about being perfect or perfectly flat and smooth, I guess. But I am going to cover the whole thing, because even those spots where we're not really doing a blendy sky in the background, we still benefit from covering this whole thing in white, putting that especially if you're painting on a canvas, as opposed to like a board or something. Just getting the canvas a little less rough and textured will help the paint go on easier, even if it's dried up a little bit. Alrighty. So I've pretty much got my little 11 by 14 covered here. And again, I am going to move on to my next step. Even if you're not done, don't worry. But the idea here is you do want to move to your next step before that white paint dries too much, especially for that sky in the back there. So I am going to go on to that next part. I have all of that white paint on my brush, and that is fabulous. I want to keep that paint there. I don't want to go in too hard. For me, I want that sky to be nice and subtle and light. Okay. So to make sure I don't go in too hot with my color, I'm just going to keep that white on my brush. And for me, that background is not just a light blue. I wanted to tone it down a bit so it wasn't too bright. So I believe I got a little bit of black in there so it goes a little bit gray. So for this sky, I'm going to grab a smidgy smooch of blue on my brush. That's a technical term for those of you who are new to painting. Smidgy smooch, very little on the brush here. Not a lot at all. We can always add more. It's harder to take it away, right? I also am going to grab just like maybe a half a smidgy smooch of black, and that's going to help tone that blue down. And I can even smudge it in my plate a bit. And that's, for me, that's the color that I want, that kind of gray blue, right? Okay. So I've smudged that in my brush that already has that white paint in it. And I'm just going to start to fill my sky. Now for me, what I can do is I can kind of sketch out the line of these trees over here and the top of Old Main or the base of the tower. I'm not going to worry about sketching out the tower because we can just throw that over top of our sky, especially if we keep the sky nice and light. Okay. So actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of sketch out where these trees are. Kind of just give me a basic shape of where everything is. Okay. And because of that white base, we don't have to worry about perfection. We're just kind of planning out the basic composition of where things are. And that's what I've got. So that's kind of this line right here, referring back to the image. We're cutting it off. We're cutting off the tower at the base there and giving room for these trees. Okay. And this is going to be very, very light. Okay. It might not even show very much on the video, but I'm just doing kind of little crisscrossies. Little crisscross with that pigment on my brush. It's very subtle, very light. If you want more color in your painting, just grab more of that pigment. Maybe a couple of smidgy smooches instead of just one. And again, I kind of, for this painting, I don't know, I kind of like the sketchy, rough textured look. So I'm not going to worry about smoothing too much, but if that's your style, go ahead and smooth that out. Maybe you have to add more white to get that smoothness that you want. Very, very light, very subtle. You can add different blocks of color, very subtle color. Maybe you want more blue, maybe you want more gray. Maybe you want a bright, bright blue sky. Totally up to you. This is your world, as Bob Ross would say. Yeah, so as my paint is drying, you're gonna have a hard time moving that on your canvas. So I just kind of grab more white to that color that I'm working with, and I can move that paint around a bit more. So now I've got something like that. Oh, it looks real wacky in the video. I'm just, that is bizarre. So it's looking a lot more subtle and smooth in real life. The video is really, try to move these colors around. I think it's just the lighting that's catching it. Yeah, in the video it looks a little harsh. But what I'm looking at in person is more, at least in my video camera, it's in real life, it's looking a bit more soft, I would say. Alrighty. All right, so our next step is going to be our next layer of our background. So over here, we've got some trees. And in the background, we have also some trees. So I've used some artistic license here. And these trees, they don't have leaves on those trees, right? It's clearly we've got lots of snow, it's winter. So those trees do not have leaves. However, I want to make it kind of a gray green, just so I don't have to go crazy painting in lots and lots of branches. Okay. And then I took some artistic license and I decided that all of these trees in the background are just evergreen. Okay. So that's going to be like a gray, gray, green. Okay. Again, for this winter scene, the colors are a bit more muted. They're not so vibrant and bright. So I'm going to be using lots of white, smidgy smooches of black to gray that color out. And let's start with these subtle trees over here on the left. And again, they're looking really dark in my camera, but for me, they're very, very light gray green. I don't need to wash my brush moving on to this gray green because to make my gray green, I'm just going to add some yellow to my gray blue. Just adding a bit of yellow to my gray blue. Just playing around there. Again, taking some artistic license, making this gray a bit green. Those trees are far off in the distance, and our eye will kind of do the work that there is something organic foliage-wise back here. But I just want to give, ooh, and that is looking real dark in the video, I gotta say. Yeah, so yeah, in my kitchen here, this is looking much lighter. I'm guessing that's just because it's maybe wet. It's just catching the light. I'm going to try to brighten that up in case you find that helpful. We'll see. But I'm just kind of indicating very, very abstractly these treetops in the background. That's the fun thing about foliage and trees and leaves and paintings. We can just kind of make a suggestion that it's there, and our eye does the rest. Much harder to make that happen with animals and portraits, right? All right, so that's my little mound of treetops in the background there. And actually at this point with this color, because it's so light, I might go ahead and just playfully sketch out the base of Old Main here. Okay. Again, we're using these very, very light colors. They're very forgiving, meaning we can play around with sketching out shapes and not worry if things go wacky on us. Okay. And I can go ahead and just gently sketch out the Tower of Old Main. Now, highly recommend going on your phone and looking at a picture of Old Main, because my sketch and my painting will certainly not be accurate. So if you really want to make this look like Old Main and do it justice, go ahead and open up a picture of Old Main on your phone, if that is something that you think would be helpful. I'm just, woo, knocked into my camera. I'm just gonna use my sketch here, knowing that it's not gonna be 100% proportion and in reality, I'll say. Okay. All right. So I'm gonna take a little pause here and yap at you so people can get caught up. Again, what we did so far, we covered the canvas in all white. For my sky, I mixed up a very, very light gray blue. So that's lots and lots of white with little tiny smidgy smooches of blue and black, adding more white as necessary. And then to that gray blue, I added some yellow to work on this suggestion of treetops back here. And then with that greenish color, because it's still a very light color, I just kind of sketched out the very basic shape of the base, the main building of Old Main, and then the tower. And it's very basic at this point. I think I'm a little too far over to the right. So this is why we love sketching with this light color, is I can say, you know what, I'm going to move the tower over. And then I can certainly revisit that sky. Fix up here. So very, very sketchy. Very forgiving, not worried about perfection. Just kind of smudge things around. Yeah, and this video is just doing wacky things with the color here. It's looking really dark, which is weird because all of my lights are on. All right, so we've kind of have the ghost of Old Main over there, right? And we've got some of these very far off in the distant treetops. Now what I want to do is work on these, again, my artistic license. I don't know if they're actually there, but some evergreens way in the background. We can't even see their true tree shapes, but they're just way back there. But I do want that darker evergreen to be there, because that's going to help make Old Main pop back there, right? Because it is such a light building in a light snow scene. We want to make sure that building gets to pop. So I'm going to go back to my palette, still have that very light gray green on my brush, but I'm going to make it darker by just adding more pigment. So a little bit more blue, a little bit more yellow, or maybe you have straight green that you can start working with. But I am going to make a light green and add a little smidgy smidge of black until I get a darker evergreen color. And when I say darker evergreen color, I mean it's still gonna be pretty muted, because this is a very muted winter scene. I've got something like this on my brush, and I'm gonna put that on my canvas to see if that's gonna give me what I want. I can always fix it if I don't like it. So again, I'm doing kind of this section here, and I am gonna go around my very, very quick sketch of that building. So I'm not going to interfere with the tower of main building or anything else. So let's try something like this. I think that'll work. Put this around my building here. or something like that, maybe. Yeah, that's kind of the basic idea. I think I might, it's a little bit sketchy. And not when I say sketchy this time, I mean the canvas itself, that texture shining through. So I'm just going to grab more pigment on my brush, kind of get that to be less textured there. And a lot of this, again, folks, is just what your preference is, right? Something that my artists always say, or mine doesn't look like that. Mine will never look like yours. Well, newsflash, mine doesn't look like mine either. So just whatever you, ooh, that's much darker and a little bit more blue, but hey, I kind of like it. Everybody's painting is going to be different, and that's part of the fun. All right. I think. See, the problem with me painting trees in background is I just want to play for hours and just kind of do different brush strokes. Oh, that was a lot of blue there. But I guess it is good for me to kind of get lost because I know people also say that I go too fast. So I'm just going to spend some time here. Something like that, I think works. Mm-hmm. All right. So just to repeat what we've done so far, in case anyone's catching up, after we painted our canvas in all white, we did a very, very light background of sky with blue and black for a very, very light gray blue. Added a little yellow to get a gray green for these treetops. Added more blue and yellow or green and black to get a darker version of that color. Oh, and after we did that, after we very, very sketchily planned out a basic shape for Old Main here. And again, I took artistic license. I don't know if these are really evergreens back there behind Old Main, but I wanted Old Main to pop in this very, very white and gray scene. Alrighty. All right, I am going to take a little pause here for people to catch up. In the meantime, if you are done, go ahead and wipe off any excess paint from your brush. Always good idea to wipe off your paint first before you dip it in your water. That will extend the life of your water and your brush. Really, again, I just kind of rinse my brush here. It'll take a little minute before we move on to our next step. Our next step is going to be to mix some color for Old Main. So that's coming up next. But we'll take a little minute while people are still working. In case you're wondering what I'm doing right now, I'm just looking at my sketch here, and there's a lot of there's more brightness above that tree line up there, and I kind of like that. So I'm just kind of revisiting that section of my sky, making it a bit lighter. Let me just take a look around, see if people are still working here. How about a thumbs up if you think we're ready to move on? Just gonna take a little stroll through here. Yeah, I see a couple of thumbs. All right, I'll try to talk slowly in case you're catching up. So for this Old Main color, right? It's a very light, sandy sort of color. And what we're working towards is basically adding yellows and orange, or yellows or orange, to a light gray. Okay. So again, we've got a lot of white paint. Excuse me. We've got a lot of white paint out, hopefully. So we're going to start with lots of white, adding smidgies of black, like the smidgiest of smidges of black. And then yellow and orange, or so yellow and red for me, adding those very, very little at a time to get sort of this sandy beige. All right, so I'm gonna kind of show you my palette here. I'm gonna move a lot of this white up here to the top, just a smidge of black, smidge of black, smidge of red, smidge of yellow, a little bit more red. As you're working on this color, if you're looking at something that looks a little bit green instead of sandy, you're going to need to add a little bit of red. Okay. So this is what I've got, and let's see what it looks like on your screen. Yeah, it's not really coming through on the video. It looks very gray in the video, but this has got that yellow and red in there. So it does look a little beige and sandy to me. And I do like mixing colors in small batches. I think that's something that a lot of folks do if they're not used to painting, is they mix a whole bunch of paint at once. And then you can go down a rabbit hole of like adding a little bit of this and then a little bit of that. And before you know it, you've got like a bowl of cake batter. But I like mixing in small batches, and we can always make edits. And that's the other benefit of mixing small batches. Editing doesn't take forever. All right. So that's what I'm looking at. It's coming off a little gray on the screen here, at least the screen I'm looking at. But I promise you that's a little bit more beige. And I'm just going to start by putting that on my canvas. And if I like it, I'll keep it. If I don't, I'm going to make adjustments. Ooh, and I grabbed some of my green, but I don't care. It's not a big deal. I just want to kind of get this color down. And yeah, that's reading very gray on my screen. But I am just going to kind of very quickly throw this down on my canvas just to kind of get the basic idea down there. And I'm going to mix up some more. And I'm painting a rectangle on top of a rectangle for now. I'm not worried about the details just yet. So rectangle on top of a rectangle, because we can all do that, right?
I have a question on the color. My color looks very brownish beige. Like, should I just add more yellow to make it lighter? Like, what's gonna make it look more
So is it a
and
brown that you like? Because if it's a brown that you like if
Mm.
it's just too dark, then I would add white to it. Because
Yeah,
the
no,
base,
it's not. It's like more like a greenish brown, which I don't like the color now.
okay. So if it's reading more green, then that tells me you need a little bit of red. So I would add a little bit of
Okay.
red at a time
Oh,
until it
okay.
kind of shifts.
Oh yeah, I didn't add red yet. That's the problem. I just did orange. Okay.
Okay.
Thank
Awesome.
you.
Sure. And
Oh,
I will say if you don't have brown available and you're mixing it on your own, it is one of the more challenging things to mix. So I don't get frustrated. It's not like making blue and yellow to make green, right? So it
yeah.
is kind of a
I mean, I did have brown, but
oh, I lost you. Oh, I keep bringing in my green into my building here. That's okay. I'm going to start drawing the more architectural shapes as I'm going now. Of course, we have a little dome at the top of our tower, but hopefully you've got that photo of Old Main. Actually, what I can do, just so you can see it, I'm going to do a dark gray so you can see these architectural shapes better. So don't follow my color, but these are the basic shapes that I recommend. It has this tower sits on a wider base, and then to me it has like a little house shape. Again, I'm going darker just so you can see it. And again, if you want an accurate Old Main, please do not follow me. look at a picture. But this is my basic interpretation. Okay. And then above that, we have that cutout. And we'll be able to look through the sky. And then, of course, a dome on top. So again, I'm sketching very, very basic shapes here. We can fill in the dome later. So again, the tower, I believe, sits on something a little bit wider at the base. Something architectural above that looks like the roof of a house. And then there's a cutout, I guess, where the bell is. And then the dome at the top. Maybe I should bring up a picture of Old Main on my computer. Yeah, it's a lot more interesting than what I'm making it out to be for certain. So yeah, if you bring that up on your phone, it's definitely more complex and interesting than I'm making it. But if you want to be basic and simple, this is what I recommend. Okay. And I don't know, I made my little dome at the top almost blue in this painting. I don't know what, it must have, in the photograph I was looking at, must have looked that way. Okay. And Old Main definitely goes wider than this business. So we can extend that out. And again, these are very, this architecture, I will say they are suggestions of architecture. They're certainly not realistic, but this is, we'll say, an interpretation of Old Main. What I'm doing right now is I'm doing cutouts for columns. So instead of painting the columns, I'm painting the in-betweens of the columns. So we call that negative space, right? So right now I'm doing these cutouts for the in-betweens of these columns. Okay. A little shadow in there. Okay. Notice how I'm really, really rough at the base there. That's because I'm going to cover that up with snow. Basically, I'm not worried about that. And at this point, I'm going to extend my architecture this way. And a lot of this is going to be covered up by branches and snow and birds. And again, that's what I love about foliage. We can just cover up things that we're not 100% a fan of. Let me go back to my Zoom here. Wait, did I lose you guys? Where are you? There you are. Okay. Oh, sorry, Katie, I missed you here. Cutouts. Cutouts are just a darker version or of whatever your Old Main color is. So just adding black to that. Just a little smidgy of black to whatever color you got working on. That will be your cutout color. Mhm. All right, so very basic shapes here. And that's the thing with architecture, especially recognizable architecture like Old Main, just doing the basic shapes, it's usually it's enough, right? Especially in a very textural abstract painting, we're gonna get the idea. So again, to recap, we added more of that architecture to, whoops, there goes my camera. Added more architecture to Old Main here. We added those shadow cutouts. So doing the negative space of those columns. I extended the Old Main color going this way, very, very loosey-goosey and rough because a lot of that is just going to get covered by snow on branches and birds and things. Okay. At this point, I'm going to take a little perusal, see how everybody's doing. I always ask if you're willing to show what you've been working on as I take a little stroll through Zoom here. Might take me a minute to see yours, but it is my favorite part, looking at everybody's work. Let's see. Looking good. Oh my gosh, these look great. This is always my favorite part. People ask me why I do this, and this is why. I just love it. I love looking at, oh, we've got a lot of cool stuff happening over there. Patricia Smith's house. Let's see. Love it. Lots of snow. Love it. Oh, these look great. You guys always impress me. I love it. These look so good. Love, love, love. Alrighty. So, our next steps, it can be scary, but we're going to have some fun. Our next steps are going to be to start throwing down these branches. Okay. Actually, I'm a liar. We're not going to throw down the branches yet. I'm going to do some snow cleanup at the bottom here. But after that, we're going to do branches. But I am going to do some snow cleanup at the bottom. And by that, I mean, I'm going to just slather on a lot of white paint to take care of these edges. And that's another fun tip, especially in snow scenes. You can just kind of smudge a bunch of white paint over edges that you don't want to deal with. So I'm just going to wipe off excess paint, give my brush a good clean rinse, and I'm going to grab a whole bunch of white on my brush, and I'm just going to imagine that there's this snow piled up in front of Old Main, and I'm just cleaning up that edge at the bottom. There's a massive snow pile right in front, and I'm going to clean up all of this too. Just giving all of that a little snow pile touch. Because this is my painting, and if I say there's a snow pile there, there's a snow pile. All right. And that kind of instantly cleans things up and gives me a little bit more clear perspective of what's about to go down. Okay. Again, so just taking a lot of that white paint and smearing it on. And with snow, I love just really laying on that white paint thick because it adds texture, and I think it just looks really cool and full. Okay, so don't be shy with that white paint for now. And moving on. All right, now let's have some fun. Now we're going to do these branches. Hopefully it's fun. It can be nerve-wracking, you know, taking a dark color and going over our beautiful work that we've done so far. But this is, again, just a reminder of what our painting is. We've got a lot of branches just covering a lot of this painting, right? These branches are taking the foreground. They're right in front of our face. So they're going to be covering up Old Main. They're going to be covering up our sky and our foreground. And just embrace that. Don't be afraid of it. Here's where we get to say, this is our painting. And yeah, I'm going to cover up Old Main for a little bit, and that's fine. Okay. I'm going to say, don't be shy. My biggest tip that I do when I'm teaching trees and branches is don't be afraid about extending those branches right across your canvas. We tend to get a little bit, hesitant. And when we're hesitant when we paint, our branches get really stubby. It happens all the time. So just feel free about extending those branches. For me, my branches are basically a really, really dark gray. So any kind of gray. So grab some white, add some blue, add some, add some black, add some blue if you want, a little yellow, but any dark, dark gray. Mine's probably, judging on how this video has been looking, mine's going to look pretty black, right? But it's just going to be a dark, dark, dark gray. And I'm going to start with those big honking ones. Get those big chunky ones out of the way. Don't be shy. I'm going to go right across the corner of that canvas. Grab some of my black, a little blue, why not? A little yellow, why not? All right. Okay. Here I go. I got my dark color on my brush and I'm going to go for it. I'm going to start here on the left and just bring down a nice thick old branch. Why not? And branches are fun. That you can add texture, all sorts of different color to that. And I got another thick little boy over here. All right. Oop. That was thicker than I planned on, but why not? Why not? Don't be shy. Yeah, this top one almost goes clear to the middle of the painting, at the bottom anyway. All right, so those are our big boys. Now, depending on what materials you have, you might have a brush that has a flat angled top. Mine's just a square top, but if you have a flat angled brush, those are usually really helpful when you're doing thinner lines, such as these other branches. So if you have a flat angled brush, I highly recommend that as your liner. But really any brush will do, as long as you give it a little test run on a paper plate or a paper towel or whatever, just to kind of see how it goes, what kind of pressure you need, how you want to hold that brush. Okay. I'm going to use my flat brush, just the tippity tips of those bristles will give me a pretty thin line. And I'm gonna go for it. I'm so gonna go for it. I'm gonna start up in this upper left-hand corner. I'm gonna go shunk right across Old Main. Starting up in the corner here. Oops. Oops, she says. No mistakes, only happy accidents. I'm gonna go right across here. And here we go, right across Old Main. Boom. And I'm gonna, once I have that there, I can just start pulling out any little shapes that I want, any little branches. Don't be shy. Have fun, let the brush lead the way. Again, highly recommend giving a little practice on a paper plate or a piece of paper you got, a CVS receipt, whatever you got laying around. Have fun with those branches. Have fun with those trees. Trees are perfectly imperfect. It can be whatever shape you like.
I'm behind. Can you tell me what color you made those branches?
Sure, no problem. So for me, it's just a dark gray. So I've got white and then I've added black. And then from there, it's up to you mixing what kind of darkness you'd like. You can throw in a little smidgy smooches of blue, yellow, and red. Any color added will do. But I recommend a dark gray.
Thank you.
Sure. I'm also going to start adding these branches that are coming out of the bottom of the canvas and going up right across Old Main. You know, it's going to feel hard. It's going to feel difficult to go over this, all the beautiful work we've done so far. But I promise you, it'll be fine for one. And for another, it's kind of liberating to just be like, ha, take that. I am in control of this painting. And have fun here. Maybe you want, you know, 100 more branches than I've got, or maybe you only want a couple. It's totally up to you. I'm going to, as I'm working on tree branches, I'm working on a much lighter gray, much lighter gray. Of course, on the screen, it doesn't look much lighter at all. So I'll make it even lighter than that. But a much lighter gray for these, remember those treetops we did? I'm gonna add these sort of, you know, trunks and branches back there. Gosh, that looks wicked dark on my screen here. But I promise you, these are light gray in the back there. Oh, I'm getting excited because once we put these branches down, we'll put the birds on, but also once we put the snow on the branches, it's like magic. Love it. Mhm. Gosh, I cannot believe that it's the 9th of December. I've been getting Christmas cards in the mail and I'm like, wait, I haven't even started doing that yet. I'm not ready. All right, I think I'm gonna stop here with my branches. I'm gonna go ahead and wipe off any excess paint from my brush and give it a rinse. But I know folks are probably still working, so now's a good time to take a little pause. I think for the next step, we will do the birds. We'll save the snow for last because it's the funnest. We'll do our birds, we'll do our little berries, and then we'll end with just putting snow along all of our branches on top of Old Main. So yeah, if you are all done with your branches, go ahead and rinse, wipe off and rinse. And then our next step will be the birds. But we'll take a little pause here for everyone to get caught up. See, yeah, I am going to move on to a smaller brush for my birds, so I have to grab that. But yes, I would, if you're done with your branches, make a choice about what brush you'd like to do for your birds. For the berries, just as a heads up. Oh, we're probably gonna do the berries last because we don't want to put that. We don't want to have to put snow around the berries. So yeah, well, our last little touch will be those berries. But the berries are basically, I use the back end of my brush as a stamp. So we'll do that as our final touch. But yes, for my birds, I'm going to use a smaller brush. So I'm going to go grab that right now. And you can start thinking about what brush you'd like to use. Okay, in the meantime, I'm going to take a little walk through Zoom here. If anybody wants to show off what they've got so far. Oh, you blurred your background, so that poor painting is getting blurred there. But it looked good even in the blur. Oh, these are looking great. Yes. Oh, these are looking really, oh, so nice. These are looking so good. Love it. Yes. Oh, we've got a tiny little one over here. Love it. Alrighty. I've grabbed a little brush here. It's a flat little angled brush. Any brush will work. It's really what you feel good about and what's available. And again, just give a little practice run in a paper plate or on a piece of paper. And I'm going to show you a really simple way to do a cardinal. I'm going to start with the male, the darker red or brighter red one. And I don't want it to be like too fire engine red, so I'm just going to tone that down with the smidgiest smooches of black, right? Just kind of calm that red down. And for this cardinal, let's see, I think he's sitting right here. And I'm gonna start with, what is that, like a backward C? Starting with a backward C that sits on a branch. Backward C or a little crescent moon shape. Okay. And then I'm going to fatten him up by filling in a little blob in there. And then hopefully you can kind of see at the top, that's where his head and crown are. I can kind of give him a beak over there. That beak will be yellow in a moment. And I can kind of straighten this tail out. Okay, so again, you might have to play with him till you get, gosh, he looks so dark. I don't know if that's how it looks for you guys. I'm gonna brighten him up so you can see him better, maybe. Okay. Alrighty. And then once we have that basic shape, it's really easy to, yeah, I'm actually going to use, I often use the back end of my brush handle as a stamper. I can even stamp on his mask at the front here. And then give him his beak in yellow. Or orange if you like. That is a real quick and dirty cardinal. I'm going to try to bring that up close to the camera here. So again, not the most perfect thing in the world, but we get the idea, right? Give him a little, ooh, that's like a chunk of yellow. I don't know how I managed to do that. Ooh. Very basic. Oh, I gotta fix his beak. He's looking a little smushed. Alrighty, so just in case anyone wants another demo of that, just real quick, what we did was backward C, oops, or a crescent shape, and then filled in his body. And then you can kind of play with where his head is and that tail. Okay, that's just a really quick and dirty way to do that. I can do that again in case you missed it. Crescent moon, half C, or backward C. Fill in the body. And then that shape kind of, I don't know, kind of speaks to me, kind of find it. Alrighty. And for his lady friend at the top there, she is basically a dirty orange. I have to admit, I love the female cardinals. I think they're really beautiful. I know the bright red male cardinals get a lot of the attention, but I love the females. I think they're really cool looking too. And in the painting, I just made her a kind of a dirty orange. So red and yellow and a little black and white. Played around with that in your paint palette there to see what works. So I can show you, let's see. I'm going to grab this red here, a little bit of yellow, a little bit of white, a little smidgy of black. I'm going to work with that until I get something that I like. And Try something like that. All right, so she is sitting perched at the top there, kind of looking down, like what's going on down there. All right. And for her body position, it's kind of similar. We're going to do some basic C shapes, essentially. So let's put her up here. And I'm going to basically do, it's going to be a, what's the word I'm looking for? A mirror image of each other. So it's going to be something like that. What would we call that? What shape is that? A hook? And then mirror image, same thing. So essentially we've got like a, I don't know, a flame, a teardrop, a onion. But that's her basic shape up there at the top. Her tail is sticking up because she's kind of looking down, right? Oop, why don't I stop playing with it? Ah. All right, so she's looking a lot bigger than the guy down there, but that's fine. All right, and then she, again, looking down, her crown is back there, and her beak is down here. And then we can give her some wings. And she will get her black mask as well. And her beak. And she looks massive next to that male. But that will do. So whenever you have a case where you've made something a lot bigger than its partner or pair, usually you can fix it by making the other thing bigger just to match it up. But then you run the risk of just going back and forth, like when I try to do winged eyeliner. So I'm just going to leave this. I do like him a lot, so I'm probably not going to mess with him. And just like I did for him, I can do a little demo of that downward shape for her. So that little flame shape, and then her crown and beak and wings. And the great thing with cardinals is as soon as you put their mask on, everybody knows what it is. We hope. And a little beak. Oop, that's the basic idea. All righty. I'm going to take a pause here, making sure there's no questions. And if anybody wants to show off what they've got. Lovely. Yes. I see your cardinals. Heather, good. Yes, yes, yes. Love it. Yes, Joyce and Cynthia. Again, it's romper room. I see Alex and I see Patricia and Kelly and Nancy. Awesome. Jody, oh, looks great. Oh, I'm so happy. These are going to look so good. We're going to put the snow on. Oh, mwah. Chef's kiss. It's going to be so good. All right. So, oh, I just got paint all over my stool. Fantastic. We'll fix that later. All right. I'm just going to wipe off my brush. Give it a good clean rinse. Yeah, and you can use any brush you like. Ooh, I am making some kind of a mess over here. All right. I think I'm gonna, let's see, what am I gonna do? What am I gonna do? Get with it, Jackie. I think I'm gonna start with my big brush to start slathering on all this snow. So I'm just gonna start resting a bunch of snow on these branches. It's one of my favorite things to do. Kind of magic happens when we do this. And I'm not going to be shy. I'm going to put it on thick. It's going to be popping off the canvas here. Just laying it on. And I can put a little bit on top of Old Main here. On all these little architectural doodads. Again, technical terms only here. Architectural doodads. That's what I said. Okay. Yeah, this is where the magic happens. I love it. So yeah, wherever that snow would fall, that snow would collect on those branches. So the tops, of course. Or the side that is closest to the top. And even if you're at a point where you're putting white on white, just load that paint up. And even white on white will show with the thickness of it. Awesome. Oh, I can't wait to see these. I hope you're seeing the magic happen. All right, once you've got the snow on those branches, as I mentioned before, the last thing I'm gonna do is put on these berries. Now, the fun thing about these berries, at least the way I like to do them, is I don't worry about giving every little stem, or giving each berry a little stem. I just kind of let them float out there. You can kind of see up close. They don't really belong to any of those stems, but I just like bunching them up wherever I like, and our brain kind of does the rest of the work for us, knowing that they're connected to those branches somehow. So just have fun. I recommend thinking of them as clusters and not as like sprinkles. As you can see here, I've basically only got 2 little clusters of those berries, but have as many as you want. But I think it'll look more realistic if you cluster them together in groups and not have them sprinkled, like snow, for example. And for that, again, I'm just going to use the back end of my brush, the handle, and use it as a little stamper. All right, I hope everybody's happy and coming along nicely. I'm gonna give another minute, and then I'd love for you to share what you've got. I have a feeling these are gonna be gorge. Let's see. I'm taking a look around. Yes, let's see, Heather. Love it. Oh my gosh, it's putting me in the mood. It's definitely the wintry, Christmassy mood. Patricia, it looks gorgeous. Alex, these look so good. Love it. Oh, they look great. Oh yeah, I have to get through all these clicks here, and then I see a bunch of them. They look so good. You guys, they look great. Oh my gosh, I hope you're happy with them. They look gorgeous. Awesome. Yeah, as a even as a fun project to do with family, like you don't have to do Old Main, but just kind of a simple wintry scene. You just throw down those branches, dress them up with snow, put a few berries on it, a little evergreen in the background, and it's a really, I think, simple but effective way to show a nice wintry scene that puts me in the holiday spirit.
I was too afraid to do the bird, so I didn't.
That is a totally acceptable choice. A lot of
Yes.
folks do that.
I
Yeah.
just did the berries.
Yeah, no, that works too. I know that animals and birds and things they can be a little scary. But I'm glad you did the berries. But yeah, any choices? Oh, Jody looks great. Sorry, I just keep Joanne. These look so good, you guys. Oh my gosh. Such joy I get from watching this. So good, so good. All right, folks. I can stick around for a minute in case anybody has any questions, but oh, Joyce looks so good. Gorgeous. These look so fun. I could just look at them all day. Cynthia, that looks great. Let me make sure I'm not missing anyone here.
Is there any way we can see theirs?
There should be. Abby, if we take the spotlight down, does that mean people can see everyone's easier? Let me see. Let me see if I can do this. Maybe I can't do this. Abby, if you're talking, you're muted, but I think if I...
Yep, I removed the spotlight.
Oh,
So
okay, perfect.
should be good.
So
Everyone's
if,
paintings look great.
and I think if it, like on your computer, like you can go to gallery view.
Yes, that
Oh, cool. Yeah. Oh, gallery views
Last
are
time.
beautiful. Look at them.
now, yeah.
Don't they look great? How cool is that?
Oh, wow.
Oh, I kind of want to take a
This is
screenshot. How do
great.
I do that again?
Oops.
They look so fun. Oh, bravo, everyone. Bravo. So yeah, tell your friends and family who couldn't make it tonight that there will be a recording on the website. Abby put that in the chat somewhere. I want to thank Abby again and PSAA again for having me. It's always a good time on a Monday night. Oh, thank you so much, Jody. I love it. And yeah, it's come to the point where I'm recognizing names and faces. So y'all bring me so much joy, and I hope you carry that with you through the holidays and have a safe and happy and healthy new year.
Thank you
again.
very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye, everyone.